morning. So welcome. We are talking today about a very important subject, something that plagues all of us during our lives, and that is negative thoughts. But what if we could take those negative thoughts and put them into positive thoughts? What could happen? What could happen in our lives and what could happen in the world? For this year, my word of the year is positivity. So I'm grateful to have this conversation this morning about how to break the patterns of negative thoughts. I'm so excited to introduce Monica Huntsberry, one of our wonderful board of advisors for Rebel 11. She put together this panel this morning. It's been one of our most popular, and I'm so excited to introduce Monica. Monica, go ahead and take it away. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joni. I'm the other Monica, not the founder, but an advisor, and I love Rebel 11 and the opportunity to gather with women from all over the world and also elevate voices that have had impact in my life. And I had the privilege of getting introduced to Kathy and Jen and really diving in deep and taking their Get Clarity workshop and reading the book that Kathy and Gary wrote. And what I would tell you is, while I had been a student of personal development my entire life, there really were some just really great awakenings for me during the course. And also it left me with some tools that I could use in my everyday life. And I think that's often something we're looking for and that we're excited to share. Just a little bit about Kathy. She's a pioneer and innovator in the coaching field. Since '94, her Get Clarity operating system has been used as an energy-focused step-by-step method that makes it easy to stay energized and create joy in life. And if I can ask, if you're not on mute, to go ahead and mute, we don't mute automatically. Tony, if you can help with that.
Remember me and Lee and Fiber?
If you can, thank you. And Jen is a senior clarity coach here joining Kathy. And she works with professionals and entrepreneurs and guiding them on how to use lights on in creating their life and their career. And Jen also has a great personal story of using Get Clarity to found her company, Birds and Bees Teas. And I'm sure she'll chat more about that as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Jen and Kathy, just to give everyone an idea of how this session is going to work. They have about 30 minutes of content that they're going to share with you, and it includes a presentation. At the end of that, we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. During the course of their conversation, if you have comments or thoughts or questions, feel free to add them in the chat, and know that if we don't get to them at that time, we'll allow for some time at the end. Okay, so with that, Kathy and Jen, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Monica and Joni and everybody listening. When we heard about Rebel 11, Jen and I did, and we were asked to have time with all of you today, we thought, what is the one thing that we could, a gift to the women, to women leaders, where in the moment, in the now, they could instantly make a change that they'd have a tool that would change the way their physiology stays healthy, even in the face of negativity. And that's what we're going to do today.
Thank you all so much. It's great to be here with you this morning. So similar to what Joni was sharing, if you have a word that you've already chosen for yourself of the year, or something you're focusing on, pop that into the chat for us and let us know so we can infuse the field together and help lift everyone up and support that. So this is the breaking the pattern of negative thought workshop that we're grateful to bring to you today. Tools, Kathy's insights and information from 30 years of working with each people just like you and I, figuring out what helps light us up, figure out what are these negative thoughts that are blocking us and stopping us. So we want to make sure that we help you today to understand how we take a negative thought and turn it into a complete positive thought. And this is something that happens in 17 seconds. So I was in a similar situation as to you today. I had heard about this workshop. A boss actually that I was working for at the time brought me to a Get Clarity workshop. And a lot of the pictures and things that you'll see are things that I saw for the very first time in that moment. And I was tired, I was exhausted. I knew there was something more, but I wasn't sure how to get there. I was in my late 20s doing work that was fulfilling. And yet there was something missing. And I would go home at the end of the day and I was really wiped out and very tired. I was in a challenging part in my marriage and was very unclear on how to get what I wanted and what I knew was possible. And it all came together in a workshop just like this for me of, wow, there is possibility. There is potential for an opportunity to do something different and to figure out what really lights me up. So Kathy created Lights on Energy coaching model and tools that go along with it. And so through Lights on Interview, we helped put the pieces and places together. I had a vision for creating an herbal tea company for fertility, pregnancy, and postpartum. And it all came through during that Lights on Interview. And using and implementing these tools has been what has helped me grow and to create the successful company that I have today. So we're really excited.
It's been such a pleasure to work over all these years with people just like Jen, creative people. And actually, our demographic is heavily women. And I think, I have a personal belief that women are in charge of change on the planet in a new and different way. So perhaps that's why they've shown up in numbers in his last 25 plus years. So let me set the field for you before we move into how to change a negative thought. What we're going to have you understand is what is a thought and how they move. How do thoughts move? And they move through fields. So what's a field? What's your personal field? And then how at the end we'll have you develop a tool that will let you hold your field positively, even in the face of negativity. So let's start out with what a thought is. A thought is an electromagnetic signal that travels in waves through fields from senders to receivers. Well, that's kind of interesting, but how does that work in the real world? We're going to show you a picture of what it looks like because neuroscience has allowed us now to take actual photos of thoughts in action. And that's what we're going to be talking about next, a lights on thought in action.
So here's your brain and what is happening when we have a thought traveling from one place to the other. Pardon? Somebody say something? Okay. It actually emits light as it travels in waves through the field of our body. So we have the thought in our mind that then radiates into our body. So we're going to continue to show you here how it travels. It's just like a radio.
So the way that thought fields work, so we're going to use the word fields, and when you have a thought, the first receiver is your body. So you actually embody thought, positive and negative. So of course, today we're going to work on how to embody more positive. The way that they travel, which is so interesting, is they go from your personal field, which is you and about the 2.5 feet around you. So if you were to put your arms out and make a circle, that's your personal thought field that can be measured scientifically very powerfully. And then as you transmit a thought, it goes into the near field, and that's that middle place, and even out into the remote field. So what's also interesting is thoughts from the other fields, the remote field, the near field, also come into your thought field. So today we're going to talk about how you can learn to hold that thought field of yours positively against any negativity that may be coming in from the other fields, and how to do that healthfully. And we are going to use the term lights on and lights off. So lights on, as you're going to see in a moment how it shows up in your physiology, so that you will get a real felt sense, so that you know in your whole being when you are lights on about something. And lights on equals a healthy body state. I always call it a body yes versus a body no. And here's a really good example of how thoughts travel through fields using Stephen Hawking. So what you know is he was unable physically to write his books and to transmit his thoughts. So the way that he did is what we're going to be teaching you is to tune in. And what he did is he literally, with his thoughts, projected his ideas to a computer, and the computer then picked up the thoughts. So this is actually for you. Thanks, Jen, for drawing that in, because that is exactly how the wave pattern looks. And as you transmit your thoughts first to your body and then to the other fields. So let's talk about fields next.
So in clarity, we've condensed it down into 3 fields, and this starts with our personal field. Kathy said it's 2.5 feet around us, right? So reach your arms out real wide, and that is your energy field. You're emitting energy out. Many of you, I'm sure, have already studied this and are interested in it. And those of you who haven't, this is your bio energy field that's out here and around. And the key for us is to learn the most we possibly can about our personal field. What do we like? What lights us up? What knocks our lights out? What is happening day to day in our life? Paying attention, becoming a clue finder, really writing down. We encourage you to write those things down for the next 24 hours. What energizes you and fuels you, and what just zaps your energy and knocks you out? So the personal field is the only thing that we have absolute control over. Our near field is next. So those are the people and places that are around us. That's your home, that's your environment that you're creating, probably a home office this year potentially, and all of the people that you interact with on a regular basis. We can influence them, and we can encourage them and make a shift potentially into their energy fields, but we don't have control over those people. And I think a lot of us go through this life thinking that we can control other people, but one of the gifts of clarity is really to make sure that we understand the only person we can control is ourselves. And then the remote field, that's our farthest out. That's the most reaching. That's all of the big stuff that's been happening in the last year. We don't have control over COVID. We don't have control over government systems or things like that. So that is the remote field. Again, it can influence us, but we are the one in our personal field that is allowing that to come into us, or we're repelling it and pushing it away. And we're choosing to focus on what lights us up, feeding ourselves, fueling ourselves. So these are the 3 main fields that we talk about in clarity and that we wanted to introduce to you today. This is also just a quick thought and picture of our brains, right? What is happening when we are going throughout our day? Well, there are 60 to 70,000 thoughts that we're having in any period in a day, 24-hour period. And majority of those thoughts are the same. And majority of those thoughts are actually negative. They're ineffective. They're not working for us. We're not good enough. I can't do this. I'm in overwhelm. I am doubting a situation that we're going through. All of them. So what Kathy has helped do is create a tool that captures a great amount of them and then an opposite to those. So if we have 60 to 70 thoughts happening in a day, how do we possibly catch and capture some of the thoughts that are happening and shift them to more effective ones, things that are positive for us and that are actually going to help propel us to where we want to be. So we're going to show you 3 examples of this in action in physical body. So this is Monica. You can see here on the left-hand side that this is a picture of her lights off. So what we do is we take images of people before an interview and after an interview coaching session. And she came, she was confused, she was in a toxic work environment, very unsure of where she was going next. And after the lights on interview, you can see it's just remarkable. Her eyes are clear, the light in her face, the light in her forehead. So it is pretty amazing how we show up when we are not excited about something in life. And just think about that for a moment. If you were to come across someone on the street with Monica on the left or with Monique on the left, would you want to interact with that person? Is that how you're showing up when you go to work? Is that how you're showing up with your family? Are you depleted and exhausted, or are you energized and lights on because you're in alignment with what you're doing and where you're headed in life?
When I first started filming people, and I'll tell you about Matt here in a moment, I could see people, change in front of our eyes, just like all of you. What I did was able to put that into a system where I could capture it on film, and then of course the client could see it. So it was useful to them, instead of them, me just taking my word, my word for it, that they would be able to see the amazing changes that can happen physiologically like this within a very short period of time. Now, when we said 17 seconds earlier, that's what happens inside your brain, and it doesn't quite reflect out. But when you're with people, you can easily see people go lights on or lights off in just a matter of minutes. It goes to minutes then. So on the left side of the screen, you'll see Matt. Now, Matt was actually lights on to begin with, pretty balanced. I want you to notice his forehead and what changed. And we call that the third eye area. So we have a right brain, a left brain, and the midbrain there. And his quest, his curiosity in the interview was to find out if he's a serial entrepreneur. He already started 3 companies, and he wanted to know it. He had an idea for another one, and he was just like, before I, do this, I need to know if it lights me up. And of course, as you can see on the right, after we interviewed and talked about it, the changes in his physiology were very, very noticeable. And as it turned out, his story is he was a runner, and he is the one that innovated the system to film a trail before you go running. Now, it's very, I'd say we're used to that idea now, but at that time, it was very innovative. So runners would be better prepared, and then his idea got bought by Nike. But at the moment here, this is just 30 to 35 minutes. He didn't go out and start his company. This is what he did by thought alone. And it lit up the third eye area, which in your body is where your pineal gland sits. And the pineal gland sits behind there, and it picks up the light signals. So when you talk about third eye light and that kind of inner knowing, the inner light, I just wanted you to see Matt, because it's such a good example of what it is when all of our answers come together and light us up.
And this is Catherine. So she was in a position, head of training at a large corporation in the Pacific Northwest, and exhausted, not having a great time. She would sit in the car before she'd go into work and put a shroud on, just energetically. Think about that too. Like when you're going somewhere, you're doing something, are you excited about your workout? Are you dreading it? That energy comes with us when we go into whatever environment we're entering, and it will help us either get things done quickly and effectively and efficiently, or really slow and take much longer to get through a project. Has anyone had a project they've ever worked on that just seemed like it took forever? So she came in and did a lights on interview, and through that lights on interview, what she realized is that she actually wanted to do consulting. And so she quit her job and ended up 6 months later back there making more money and doing consulting, working less hours than what she was doing prior. So you can just see this massive shift in her energy field.
And how it is sustainable over time. When your body reacquaints itself to its own natural lights on, like that, it just gets brighter and brighter and brighter over time. And that's the key thing is for us as women, is how do we get our lights on, and B, sustain it over time in spite of everything that goes on around us. So here's a tool that you're going to work with today. We call it a thought changer. And it is a way that you will create a statement. I like to call them mantras, where you will have a personal mantra that when you say it to yourself, so in your head, it will begin to change the way your brain actually picks up energy and light. So let's start on that. And I hope you all had a chance to download this tool. Now, what we're doing for the purposes of our time today is this is 3 parts of an 8-part system. And what we're doing with the 3 parts is getting you used to how to work it, so you can do it on your own when we're not with you and use it all the time. So as you take a look at this, you'll see that there is a gray area in the middle, and we call that the line. So the lighter colors, all the words above that gray area we call above the line, and everything under it that are darker we call under the line. And to the right, you'll see the column that says megahertz. And what that says is that these thought patterns the wave patterns have been measured scientifically so that you understand how the waves move. They actually, remember the radio station, like your head as it goes into your body, the high vibrational thoughts or the lower vibrational thoughts, both, your body picks up all of them. So everything above the gray line, we would call, so let's call them the Discovery Channel. And everything under the line, let's call soap opera, Days of Our Lives. And so everything above the line is high, fast, and clear. That's why those numbers, they're not better or worse or good or bad. They're the wave pattern. It just travels faster above the line in positive thought. And negative thought is sludgy. It's less effective. It travels more slowly. And then you will see by color implication that these are done in pairs. And that's what we're going to have you work with today. So for example, the above the line word trust has a twin opposite it called fear. So if you're in fear, one of the quick shifters is to be able to just think to yourself, I trust myself. I trust that I did the best that I could at the time that I had, with what I knew at the time. And I know I certainly in my experience as a parent was looking back with new knowledge and wondering if I'd done the right thing, fed them the right food and all that. But I knew that I trusted that I did the best that I could with what I knew at the time. And then you'll see trust. So follow it to your right. So if you're trusting yourself as an individual, it takes courage. It takes courage to do that. So your trust is linked to courage. It is linked to honesty as a leader. Your ability to hold that field of trust, courage, and honesty. And it will counterbalance the under the line. Like if you're making decisions from fear, it will create denial, not really seeing things accurately. And as a leader, it could cause you to manipulate behaviors or facts or figures. So this is how the pairs work, because they start with a thought, and then it travels in that wave in a field and across to first your body, into the and then out into the fields around us. So Jen, let's do that. Thank you for pointing to excitement. So excitement is the light side to its pair under the line in, there you go, in exhaustion. Thank you. And so we're enthusiasm will be the next one as we go up, which will have its pair as anxiety. So let's focus for a moment on that yellow line. Let's say, I don't know if there's anyone listening who's ever experienced anxiety, of course. So how do you break that pattern of having anxiety stuck in your body, stuck in your brain, running a repetitive statement? And then that holding anxiety in can create resentment and can cause you as a leader to begin evaluating yourself and others. Well, let's jump.
Kath, hold. So somebody just asked, is a question, is this what I hear about when folks say raise your vibration, raising your energy field?
Yes, this is exactly it. Thank you. Yes. So let's say you're in anxiety, which will cause an inner resentment. You can hold upset inside your body and it creates resentment. And then it can cause you to evaluate yourself and others. When your thought patterns, remember the waves, when they're under the line like that, they're low, slow, and dense. It's a it's thick. It's a thick feeling. It's like you just cannot get yourself moving. And when you immediately switch your vibrational pattern, and that's what we're going to teach you, how to make a mantra, something that, let me back up. So in anxiety, you are saying something to yourself. There is an inner conversation. And when you switch it immediately, within 125 thousandths of a second, your body, when you switch, will begin to change the vibrational frequency, and it'll go to a high, fast, and clear state. So you're feeling anxiety, will help you make a mantra that that would say, I am enthusiastic. I'm enthusiastic about my life. Even though I'm in a anxiety producing situation, I can create enthusiasm. I can celebrate my life. I can create models for others. And literally in the 125 thousandths of a second that you make that switch, your body will correspond and become lighter, and will have that effect that you saw, and you'll feel it in your body. It'll feel, it's almost like a big in-breath. It's just like, oh, wow, I'm lighter. And that's what we want you to learn how to do that today. And that's our purpose today, is for you to do that. So the vibrational fields, I want you to be very clear that everything above the line with the high, fast, and clear patterns, that isn't good or bad. So this is not a good or bad judgmental system. This is an energy system. And energy is neutral. It's either fast or slow. It's either effective or not effective. It is either clear or it is unclear or foggy. I always think of it when I drop under the line, that I'm kind of in the fog. I'm just not sure what to do next. So that's how this system works that you've downloaded. And what we're going to do now is have you craft your own statement, to be creative, to pick above the line words that really mean something to you, and create a mantra about it. We're going to show you how to do that. There is a a method to do it. And you do not, for this exercise today, you do not have to pick the exact twin or the exact opposite. What we want you to do is be able to just look above the line and say, what words could I say to myself that would make the shift that's necessary for me to hold my body in a lights on, positive, healthy state. And some of my favorites above the line, I love gratitude. I am a grateful person. And I love acknowledging everybody else's brilliance. So those are words that I've chosen for myself. I'm a curious by nature, and we're gonna move to that exercise next, and we'll show you how to use this tool to create a whole new negative thought changer. And I'll take questions here. This is a bit of a well, anywhere we'll take questions, but this is a bit of a complex system until you take a look at it and realize it for its actual simplicity.
So what we want to do here is go ahead and have you figure out, as you were looking at those words or you're thinking about your own personal field in your life, what's your most predominant under the line or ineffective thought that you have? Go ahead and write that down. Actually, put them in the chat if you're courageous enough or you're open to sharing. We would love to see what they are. That'll help us in dialogue and conversation. Great, thanks, Anne. Fear, anxiety and fear. I can't do that. We will definitely put them up again, Kathy, and I can do that right now, but yep, look here. We'll go back and forth between these two slides. There was a few questions too about, could you download this or where do you get this information? So we have this on a 8.5 by 11 that you can print out, and it's in the email that you received to get into the Zoom link, but it'll also be sent out after as well. So no concern there. We don't want to put any fear into the field. So we'll be able to do that. So pick one of those words. What's your most predominant below the line thought? Overthinking.
How about that one that I saw Lindsay just put up, doubt? Because doubt is when you know, that inner talk of like, well, I'm not sure I'm good enough, or, you know, I don't know. And what happens when you transmit that thought down into your body is your whole vibrational force field lowers. You go lights off. And what happens is then you're less effective. And so remember, in 125 thousandths of a second, by making this shift, your body will respond right away and will go into the higher vibrational thought pattern. And that's where health for all of us lives in the high vibrational fields of positivity.
Yeah, our immune system is compromised with the negative thinking that's coming through. Monica, do you have anything? Are we good?
And I was just going to add, what's so great about this isn't a scolding of ourselves for having that below the line. It's about awareness in order to gift ourselves with an alternative, right? And so I love that people are sharing vulnerably. We all have under the line or below the line thoughts. And so this is about creating that self-awareness so we can gift ourselves with an alternative.
Absolutely.
Thank you for saying that, Monica, because as human beings, we're all over this thought map. I mean, we learn from all of them. I mean, for example, let's pick doubt, which is, you know, so frequent. I hear from women so frequently. Well, we would not understand certainty if we hadn't experienced doubt. So under the line is frequently where we get our most poignant lessons. What happens is if we get stuck there, that is where it becomes the repeating pattern that we do over and over and over again, is we get stuck. And just like in a river, it's like an eddy. You're just swirling in this repeating head thought. So what we've done here is giving you a choice that you can choose another thought, and you can choose it instantly. and have it ready. And that's what we're going to be doing here when you write your your negative thought, breaking the negative thought. We want you to do it by rewriting a script that you're going to say to yourself, like a mantra, like a prayer, like an intention, you know, whatever word works for you. The curiosity, the minute you go into doubt, when you can just go to curiosity and say like, oh, I wonder if I did it differently. I wonder is such a great doubt breaker. So that's a, you know, pick several words above the line.
And then we're going to have you, pick where you want to focus. So is the focus, if you are experiencing doubt, is it curiosity, or is it trust for fear, or is it any of the other words, or another word that you might have? The other thing I want to share is that this is just a portion of an entire whole system. So these are 2-3 sections of an entire system of a lot of words. But what we want to do is get you into writing your thought changer statement. So we're going to go ahead and have you choose some of those and then create your own personal mantra. And the importance of this is when we get stuck in that eddy that Kathy is talking about, in that negative feedback loop, we can notice that we're there, catch it, stop it, cancel those, and then rewrite it with our script, your script that you're going to write today. So in creating an intention statement, this is just one example, but my intention today is to be enthusiastic and authentic in all I do. Sometimes this can be as simple as the word trust. For the longest time when I started working with clarity, I just gravitated to trust. I trust this process. I trust where I am. I trust that everything's always working out for me. I trust that God is going to take care of things. I trust that the universe is here to support me, whatever that could be for you. We have another question here. Does it need to be the opposite pair of the below the line word? It does not, but it is helpful sometimes. So any of the above the line words, it's kind of like taking a dart and throwing it at the wall. Any of those above the line, that gray line, are going to be something that's going to help you raise that vibrational frequency, help you stop the neurochemical cascade. So unfortunately, this is like the tiniest little sliver and glimpse of what we offer in other courses. And we highly encourage you to come and do that. And what we're thrilled to do is work with you just on your mantra today that you can take with you and you can start implementing right now. So we can dive deeper into all those and into many more questions in the next 20 to 30 minutes that we have with you. Please make sure that you write down your questions so that we can answer those as well. Perfect. So as you're writing down, you're going to take this and create your new focus for what you want to create. And then what is one action step that you will take today that will make this happen? And it doesn't have to be a physical action. It could be a mental action. It could be sitting in meditation. All the pictures that we showed you earlier, well, majority of them are in an hour to an hour and a half of us sitting and communicating with another person, not in them going out and implementing a plan or getting things in massive motion. They do that after, but they do it from a higher vibrational frequency.
I think what's amazed as you're writing this, I want to say that what has amazed me over the years as in coaching is watching how people's brilliance, when they shift their thoughts, when they're out of that pattern of negativity and switch it to positivity, how amazingly brilliant they become. And that was where the whole lights on physiology really came true for me, was where I was able to photograph it, which is of course a freeze frame, so that we could take a look at what was it like in my physiology and my body when I was thinking under the line. And wow, look at where I went. Look at how I can hold that. And Clarity's definition of resilience is being able to hold that above the line thought no matter what's coming at you. and knowing that, so that you can, you know, when we were in elementary school and we had to do those fire drills and it was like stop, drop, and roll. Well, that's kind of how this works. The minute that you realize that you're conscious to the fact that you're losing your energy, you're getting drained, you're not a bad person. Thank you, Monica, for reinforcing that. Not at all. You just realize you're getting drained. And that then then you can shift immediately.
So for those of you who have your intention statement and are willing to share, if anyone wants to, we'll have in the questions in a couple minutes, you actually, if you want to raise your hand and share it out loud so we can tell if it actually lights you up or if there's a couple tweaks that we can help you with. But please post your intention statement in the chat. These can also be I am statements of I am healthy, I am vibrant, I am courageous. So go ahead and pop those into the chat for us. Kathy, do you want to explain?
Yes, we would just want to, this is in summary for you, science has proven that in order to, the power of no is that it is a primitive alert system. And in order to counterbalance it, that's why 3 yeses, or I made it fun, you know, why to the third, equals and balances 1 negative thought. So in our exercise, when we were, I can't wait to see and hear what you all came up with, because your 3 yes statements, or, you know, which is what you're designing now, and you want to say it for 17 seconds, although things switch in your brain very quickly, to get some sustainable ability to it. So even if it's a short, like I am generous, you can say it over again, so it ends up to take you about 17 seconds. So this is, in summary and closing here, the important thing is we want you to have this mantra in advance. Why is that so important? Because whenever you're under the line in any low negative thing, you lose executive function. You all have probably heard about this, is that you don't have high level thinking. And because you don't have high level thinking, it's very difficult to access it when negativity is coming at you. So our purpose in this and is for you to have it in advance, have it in your pocket, have it ready to roll. And so that the minute negativity comes, you can hold your body in a healthy state. This is resilience. And to be resilient starts with your thoughts. So that is the power of yes. So let's take some questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. We hope that you have gotten some great tidbits, so it'll be fun to hear what your takeaways or questions might be. Thank you.
Look at all those.
Thank you, Kathy and Jen. You do have so much material, and at the end we'll talk about where people can find more out about what you do, and for you to condense it today in order to make sure people have a takeaway, and also that you gave some really relevant examples and walked us through. I feel like we all have learned and shared. There were a few questions about the frequency of doing this. Can you talk a little bit about what's important related to frequency or creating this muscle, if you will?
Well, you're right. It is like a muscle, like you have to exercise it. So all of our positive habits in our life take reinforcement. What I start my day that way. I start my day with my mantra, and I think of it as setting my personal field, so that as I go forward into the day, that that I'm prepped. It feels good to me to start that day, and it feels lights on. However, I often have to reinforce that throughout the day. Negativity comes in. I mean, remember in that radio signal, Monica, what we were saying is we send the signals this way. You have to really humble noticing is that the signals from the remote field come right back to you. So if you hold your field, it's almost like putting yourself in a bubble against the negativity of the other fields. And so as many times as you need to say it during the day is really, you just do it as much as you need to elevate your energy back to where, and that's what we mean when we say hold your field. Jen Roth, you have a bracelet that you look down on, and it has your power words on it too. I mean, there are lots of good ways to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anyone that has a question or would like to go for it with their mantra and say it out loud for everyone? I know we have some here in the chat. Thank you everyone for popping them in there. I'm dedicated to letting go of all that clutters my mind and surroundings. I am going to be enthusiastic and have the courage to face today. Somebody is asking if there's a way to listen to the presentation another time. 100%, that's going to be sent out after as well, right? Will that be today or tomorrow?
Actually, that will be available on rebel11.com on Monday afternoon. Perfect. So you can see the whole presentation, and any of our presentations will be there.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Oh. And I'll be sending out a follow-up email as well with the chart, as well as additional information on how to contact Kathy and Jen.
Beautiful. And then I think earlier on in the chat, there were a couple comments about, oh, is that why, I feel so weighed down in my body? And I know you touched on that, but I think it's good to talk about it one more time about where the negative thoughts show up in our body and how sometimes we can recognize them in our body if we're not recognizing them here.
Mm-hmm. That's so important, Monica. Thank you for asking that question.
Right. Although we were using lights off as kind of a broad brush, and it's a good, kind of code word for I'm getting drained. And what happens whenever the body accesses into the under the line or the lower vibrational thoughts, negativity, what happens is your entire physiology changes and it becomes more adrenalized. And at nighttime, that's when cortisol comes in and really wakes everybody up. I bet you if we all waved a hand, every one of us have been startled in the middle of the night by a negative thought that's coming in and awakened us. And so, yes, that is, I think the best way to use a positive mantra is to be able to tune into your body when that happens and just go like, oh, wait, stop. I'm okay. I'm healthy. My energy is just getting drained. I'm going to shift it and I'm going to say my mantra. And just like that, in 17 seconds, your body will come back around. Now, do you have to sustain that over time? Yes. Like all healthy practices, that becomes the best way to stay, to stay positive and resilient.
Kathy, I've certainly, sorry, go ahead, Monica.
How often do you change your mantra?
I have them for several different instances. By the way, I have one that I use and I start my day with and sets the field. I have one that I call my 911 or my emergency, like, whoa, I'm in a meeting, my energy is crashing, people are sending negativity. And then so in the back of my head, I say, I choose, because I like that way I'm in charge. And I say, I choose peace, or I choose positivity, or I choose curiosity, whatever's going to work there. But I use an I choose as my 911. Let me put it like that.
And we have a few minutes left. Jen, I was thinking maybe you want to share a little bit about how clarity helped you uncover your passion to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I had been an entrepreneur somewhat by having my own massage practice, but not to the level of going out into the world like I am today. So it was a passion and a seed that had been planted in my heart, definitely, of really wanting to reach more women. I was working one-on-one with women, and that was great, but I really wanted to have a broader stroke and reach so many more women. And there was a thought of being able to make teas. And one of the pieces was that the women that were becoming pregnant in the fertility clinic that I was working in were carving out time for themselves. They would go home and make a loose leaf cup of tea. And I had no idea the power of a cup of loose leaf tea when I was in school for herbal medicine. It was just remarkable. It was like, okay, those are the women that care about themselves, that want this creativity to be flowing in their life, that are ready to take the next step. So there was an inkling somewhere in my mind, but really in my body. And when you get in a lights on interview with Kathy or any of our clarity coaches, there's many certified clarity coaches, it is a blast because you just kind of start to unravel and pull apart. What if I could do what I really wanted to do? What if I could go live in that place that I've been thinking of? Or how can I make these dreams come true? And so it's really in that lights on interview that you just begin to unravel, and your body and the physiology just gets in flow and carries you down this river called life, right? But it's all of the positive above the line words that I fell in love with. I struggle with dyslexia. I have had challenges in school, all kinds of things. And for me, I was in a negative feedback loop a lot. I wasn't good enough. I needed to make more money. I needed to da 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 da. Everybody else had as their belief system that I anchored myself into. And it really wasn't until clarity. And my mom was in love with Louise Hay when I was little and taught me about mantras and taught me to look in the mirror and find one thing that I loved about myself. Oh, my eyes are beautiful or something. But it never really came together until I started practicing with the clarity tools. It was a tool that, like, I encourage every one of you, print that sheet out that we're giving you and go and get these. We have this whole little pamphlet here. This sits on my desk, and I use all the above the line words and all the below the line words while I'm in meetings. I listen for them and I hear people using the word doubt, and I go, oh my gosh, I could go above the line. I'm going to ask this person a curious question. I'm going to shift the conversation. I'm going to shift not only my own mindset, but those that I'm coming in contact with on a regular basis. So it was a profound tool that I use every day. And I even in my warehouse in the space, I wrote all the above the line words on all of the walls and to infuse that energy in the beginning stages of Birds and Bees Teas. And we train every single person that comes through with the shift training, so we all have a common language. It removes the judgment in team meetings. It removes the passing blame to somebody else. And I use the choice point guide as a mediator, really, like, oh, it sounds like you might be struggling here. And what if we went to this opposite place? Or could we have a conversation about manifesting or what your life looks like? So I was actually working all of our employees out of a job quickly because I am excited about figuring out what lights them up way more than I am figuring out the systems and processes of blending tea. So through that process, I fell in love with coaching and love helping individuals like yourselves figure out what your next step might be. You might not even be stuck in that much of a negative life, but you may be ready to up level and take it to the next place. And there's always some shape shifting that we can play with.
That's really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that personal journey, Jen. Joni, I'm going to turn it over to you to wrap up.
Well, thank you, Jen and Kathy, so much. I learned so much this morning, and I'm just thrilled to be able to take those tools with me throughout my day and throughout my life moving forward. And Monica Huntsberry, thank you so much for bringing Jen and Kathy to Revel 11. I'm so grateful for all of your help, and this was truly terrific. And I just can't wait to infuse these tools into my team as well. So thank you, Jen, for sharing that. And thank you all for joining us. I'd love to tell you more about some classes that are coming up.